Hello everyone and welcome to this video, which is in our Engine Snack series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and we're taking a look at a thrilling tactical episode in the game ScorpioNN against rofChade, TCEC Season 22 Division P. There are so many decisive games in Division P this time that you can very easily just completely miss the draws, but there's still a lot of great chess played in there, and this was a really crazy tactical interlude. So let's have a look how it went. So in this position, Queen's Gambit declined, White's, I guess, nominally better. Just a good strong knight against a weak-ish bishop, but it's going to be very, very hard to break through. But with time trouble looming, Scorpio played Queen e2, hitting the pawn on h5, and rofChade decided that Queen takes b4 was the way to go. So actually, when I put it on my engines, Stockfish wasn't at all interested in grabbing this h5 pawn, which shows how risky it is. He just wanted to play rook c5 and keep the position together. But then, of course, giving up, this move queen e2 doesn't have much sense then. So queen h5 was played by Scorpio, and now rofChade hit back with f4. And what's the point of f4? Well, it's actually opening up the line of the bishop on the h3 pawn, and black is going to have both ideas of rook h7 at some stage, or even just the immediate bishop h3 followed by rook h7. So getting very, very dangerous indeed. I mean, one of the big tactical tension points though in the position is this is the fact that g takes f4 is possible. So opening the g file is going to be an idea all the time. For the moment, it's not particularly dangerous. We just take. Queen b1 check picks up the rook. Actually, it doesn't really matter because you go king g3 here, and while the black king's so open, you're going to be able to give some sort of perpetual with queen g6 somehow. But still, this is a very big idea, opening the g file. We're going to be seeing it an awful lot. E takes f4 is possible, but it's met by bishop takes h3. When if you go something like queen h3, I just go rook h7 and pin you. Just king h3, rook h7 is the same story. So you can go g4. This was my idea to stop the bishop from coming back, but actually just a move like this at any rate is going to be a repetition. So another idea worth mentioning was played by Berserk. And this was queen h6, which was another one of my candidate moves, just hitting this bishop on e6. But what black plays is the move queen b3. It's very nice, defends the bishop on e6 and attacks the rook on c2, so gains a tempo at the same time. And rook g2, f3, and all very, very murky basically, but certainly not worse for black. So after f4, Scorpio played the amazing move d5. What is the idea here of d5? The idea actually is that this pawn is kind of sort of poisoned. If you take with the bishop on d5, the bishop's no longer pointing to the h3 square, so that makes knight g6 very dangerous. Threatening queen h8 check, also threatening knight f8. And if you go rook h7, well, there's no threat against h3, so I just go queen g5, and I've still got my discovered attacks coming in. And if you go rook g7, well, the g file comes into play here. We've got g takes f4, and we'll maybe even triple on the g file and power through like that. So if you go c takes d5, then this queen h6 idea works really well. We're hitting the bishop on e6, and you've no longer got your queen b3 because the pawn is on d5, blocking that diagonal back. And if you go something like, for example, queen d6, I just go gf. You've got no rook takes g1, queen b1 threats, and the rook's coming over to g2. If you go rook e8, then Stockfish had a little trick up his sleeve. Knight g4 takes, and then g takes f4. And the idea is that White's going to go rook g2 takes g4, and keep the g file open. Spectacular tactics. So that's why rofChade played this very a bizarre move, bishop c8, just retreating the bishop, but keeping an eye on this pawn on h3. So d takes c6 was played, and this is going to lead to the most spectacular draw. There are other moves. I mean, e takes f4, d6, G takes F4, they all lead to draws, but D takes C6 is the one for the crowd. F takes G3 check, and now, yeah, King H1 is the only move to keep things alive. If you go Rook G3, I'll just take, Queen E1 check, and then go Rook F2 check, and we're going to get a draw this way. So King H1, and now it's not the only move, but it is still a stunning move that Rothschilder played. I mean, if black doesn't do anything in this position, then Rook G2 is the idea. Huge idea, followed by Rook takes G3, and white's completely winning. So black connects up all of the loose strands in its position by playing this move Queen B5. It attacks the knight on E5, pins the knight to the queen. And what it also does, it actually eyes the F1 square. So if you do play Rook G2, I get this extra idea of Rook F1, just well, reducing white's firepower by exchanging a pair of rooks. It's absolutely beautiful. It does absolutely everything. And it also sets up something else, because after C takes B7, well, I mean, Stockfish thought that Bishop B7, Rook G2, Rook F1 was fine, but who wouldn't want to play the move Bishop G4? There it is, whack again in a slow motion. And the idea here is that Knight G4 allows Queen H5. That was the point of Queen B5. Funnily enough, I mean, you could play a move like Knight F6 check and B8 Queen, but you just go Rook F8 and then afterwards H3 is hanging. I mean, I could even, this was one of my ideas, I wanted to play B8 Queen here just to try and distract you, because if you go Rook B8, I go Knight G4, Queen H5 and Knight F6 check. Haha, forking you. But actually after B8 Queen we take this Queen, and well, probably Queen B5 AB is about equal. You know, it's nothing spectacular. But after Bishop G4, well, can't go Knight G4, but you can go HG, but then we've got this pin Rook H7. It isn't the end of the story though, because Queen H7 check, King takes, Rook C7, King G8, Knight F7 was played, and yeah, I mean, what is happening here is just really, really dangerous. I mean, well, we've got this idea of Knight H6 to F7 check, and of course we've got this pawn on the 7th rank. But Rothschilder navigated very well. It played this nice little subtlety, Queen B2. It looks like it's giving up a move, but actually what it does, this Rook on G3 is rather awkward. And in the ensuing ending, you'll see that you don't really want white to take the pawn with G3 and then come into E4. If the Rook is on G3 here, then the King's path is blocked. So now we play Rook F7, Rook C8, Rook there, takes, King H2, Rook B3, and you can see what I mean. The King isn't able to come in to attack the E4 pawn. It has to take a slightly more roundabout route, and after King H4, Rook A5, this Rook ending is approximately equal. An absolutely amazing flurry of tactics, and that in a drawn game. Easy to have overlooked, but I'm glad I spotted it, and I hope you enjoyed it too.